Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Anna Duff, and I'm the chair of the Prince George Public Library Board. I'm so pleased to welcome you this afternoon to the 39th Annual Jeanne Clarke Local History Awards. Each year, the Library Board hosts this awards reception to recognize and celebrate contributions to the preservation and promotion of local history. We are thrilled to be able to host this event, and thank you all for making the effort and taking the time to be here with us. Before we proceed, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral lands of the Lheidli First Nation, on whose land we live, work, and play. We recognize that the history of human activity in our region is to a large extent the history of the Lheidli and other Indigenous peoples. We want to honor the stories and traditions of these peoples as we celebrate the history of our region. In preparation for today, I was reflecting on the crucial importance of recording local history, celebrating those who take the time to record it, and also preserving these important works so that future residents and generations can learn about the long history of this place. I'm incredibly grateful to the passionate people who undertake the research and share these learnings with various types of literature. I'm a second-generation born Prince George resident, with my grandparents arriving in the late 50s, early 60s. And my earliest historical learnings of Prince George are through stories that have been shared by family members, oftentimes driving around through neighborhoods and learning about locations that are important to my family. As I've grown and sought more learnings about Prince George and northern BC, I found myself increasingly grateful for the people and resources that share the history of this place. Many of these people are here today. These books, songs, and stories benefit all of those who are curious about Prince George's past, and I know not everyone has a family to share with them the history of this place. Particularly, I'm grateful for the welcoming nature of the Lheidli and their generosity in sharing parts of their 9,000-year history on this land. Lheidli Chief, Council, and Elders are kind to share their experiences and knowledge with those, like myself, who have a much shorter history with this place. I also extend gratitude to all the library staff who work so hard to bring this lovely event to fruition. Thank you for all that you do for our community. And before we continue, just two little pieces of housekeeping. Actually, I have three. First, the library is closed today, so you can't check out any books, but the washrooms are available to use. There's also Books and Company in the back. They are selling some of the books that we're celebrating today. Secondly, there was a credit card found in the parking lot. So if your name is Alice O and you're looking for a Visa card from Scotiabank, I'll have it for today. Otherwise, library staff will have it for the future. Just come find me afterwards. And lastly, I'd like to draw your attention to the cameras that are in the room. Big thanks go out to Rogers TV, Jonathan Valaroso, and their volunteers for filming this year's event to bring it to the community television channel. We also want to thank Jonathan for preparing the video segments that we will be showing you later. If anyone has any concerns about their image being recorded, please talk with any of the library staff members. And now, it is my pleasure to invite past Jeanne Clarke Service Award winner, who is your host for this year's awards, Kim Gucci, to come and open this celebration with a traditional welcome.
Masicho, Tabase Nachalia, and Hari. Hari, everyone. Hari. It's so wonderful to be here again. This is I think my third time being involved with the Jeanne Clarke Service Awards. In 2022, I was a recipient, and it was during the pandemic, so we didn't get to do this. So every time we do this, I feel like it's a new celebration, so it's so wonderful. And I'm here on behalf of my chief, Darlene Logan, who sends her regrets today, to welcome everybody to our unceded ancestral territory on behalf of Chief and Council, our elders, our youth, our community. We extend a warm-hearted welcome to you. And I'm also here representing our elders. I'm an elder in training, so we are all elders in training if we're not already there, right? So what I like to do is sing the welcome, sing about this place, and bringing in my hand drum is a way that I do that because I'm honoring the animals live life that was taken for this drum, which was an elk. I'm honoring the tree, which, as we all know, are fundamental to our human life on the planet. And so I'd love to share a song with you that summarizes all of that and just brings in all of our ancestors, because there's no empty chairs in this room right now.
Thank you, Kim, for welcoming us and sharing that song. Before we continue anymore, I'd just like to take a moment and thank all of those who are in attendance and to recognize the members of City Council. Thank you, Mayor Yu, Councillor Frizzell, for being here today, and also members of the Prince George Public Library Board. My colleague Vash is here today also for being with us. A little bit about these awards. Jeanne Clarke was a founding member of the Prince George Public Library's Local History Committee and played a key role in establishing the Prince George Public Library's local history collection. These awards were established by the Library Board in 1985. Thank you. That's better. Thank you. I'm sure everyone appreciates that. These awards were established by the Library Board in 1985 in memory of the former Library Board Chair, Jeanne Clarke, after her passing, as a way to continue her legacy. Established in 1985, the Service Award recognizes outstanding contributions by an individual or a group in the area of local history. In 1993, the Prince George Public Library Board added a publication award so authors could be recognized for producing an important work of local history. nonfiction, biographies, historical fiction, or any publication that improves the appreciation and understanding of local history is eligible for the Publication Award. Works must have been published within the past 2 years. The objective of the Jeanne Clarke Local History Award is to increase interest in local history, to publicize the library's role in preserving and promoting local history, and to recognize individuals and groups for their efforts in local history. Although the primary goal is to recognize the history of Prince George and the surrounding area, local history is broadly defined to include all of northern BC, so historical work with a regional focus is eligible for recognition. We will continue to honor Jeanne Clarke's legacy and to ensure that we acknowledge, promote, and celebrate all the history and enduring culture of this area. We would like to take a moment to thank Jeanne Clarke's family members who are here with us today. If you're related to Jeanne Clarke, can you please stand up? Thank you. And Heather Henderson is one of Jeanne Clarke's daughters, and she's kindly agreed to say a few words with us on behalf of the families. Please welcome Heather.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to see such another impressive turnout for this annual event. I'd just like to start by saying, although I spent 45 years teaching, I am most comfortable addressing young children. So I shall pretend that you are all third graders to help alleviate some of my anxiety. I've been attending this amazing event since 1988 when I moved back to Prince George. However, I've always relied on others, such as library staff, family, to speak on behalf of my mom. I had a bit of an epiphany when Trell Morrow sadly passed away because he was always here. And it suddenly dawned on me that now I'm the senior and I better, get on board here because a lot of people that are here now didn't ever know my mom or my family or that history. So this is just a little piece about Jeanne Clarke from a family perspective. This year, I have had the opportunity to realize a bucket list goal by joining the nominated books reading team. It provided an opportunity to really reflect on the impact these events have had on promoting and preserving local history by highlighting the quality and quantity of work being done year after year. I often get asked about the Jeanne Clarke Award and why it came to be. Well, I believe that it's a testament to volunteering, believing in your community, and the power of reading. My mom was born here in 1926, the eldest daughter of a government clerk and a school teacher. Her childhood included opportunities to develop a love of sports, volunteering, and of course, books. Her parents were very involved with many early Prince George activities such as the Fall Fair, now the PGX, collecting daily weather data, housing newcomers, and canvassing, just to name a few. But always there were books. Between and after the wars, sharing, trading, and borrowing of books was common. The Prince George Public Library began in 1955, one of my favorite years. As a child, we made weekly trips to exchange books for the whole family. There were favorite genres for each of us. World War II prevented post-secondary opportunities for my mom, but when we, her children, got older, she worked in the school district central library and later the PGSS library in a variety of support roles. Once we had left home, she began a distance education course on writing children's literature. And she joined the Prince George Public Library Board. The first major hurdle as a board was to convince the City Council that the small outdated library on Brunswick Street needed replacing. The mayor of the time was vehemently opposed to spending money on a warehouse for books. Fortunately, as you can see, perseverance paid off. With a new beautiful space, many dreams could be realized. Having grown up here and experiencing many, many changes, as documented in the Notorious Georges, one of this year's nominees, my mom felt strongly about showcasing this diverse and often challenging history. She felt by giving it independent status rather than being mixed in with general history, it would allow for easy access, increased understanding of the past, and hopefully a venue for expanded publications. Sadly, she was diagnosed with colon cancer, a battle lost just as her vision was beginning to take shape. The incredible members of the board decided to introduce this award after she had passed. She had no idea. In a word, she would be gobsmacked. Our family is sincerely grateful for the efforts of all the people who have continued to grow this event over the decades. The wonderful educational opportunities it has provided are a solid foundation for ongoing initiatives to help us all understand the true and actual past. My mom's dream is undeniably a reality. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. As 2024 marks the 39th annual Jeanne Clarke Awards, we would also like to take a moment to recognize some of the previous winners. If you are a previous service award or a publication award winner, can you please stand up? Thanks to all of you for your outstanding contributions to preserving and promoting local history. I'd now like to welcome back Kim Gucci, the recipient of the Service Award in 2022.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I gotta find my page. Page 6. Thank you, Anna. You think? Okay, I'll scroll back just a little bit. No, it's fine. It's here. Oh, here it is. So the Local History Committee is made up of library board members and volunteer readers who spend many rewarding hours reading and discussing the nominated publications. This award recognizes excellence in publication for the promotion and preservation of local and regional history. On behalf of the Local History Committee members, I would like to introduce the nominees of the 2024 Jeanne Clarke Publication Award. And what better way to introduce them than in their own words? So we are going to put our attention onto this beautiful screen here for a video.
The author of 2 books on the history of Prince George. The 2 books are a culmination of the pictures that I posted on Facebook and the requests that came from that asking about a book. The volume of pictures was such that we needed to do 2 books. The first book, Artist Sketches, A History of the Forest Industry in the Prince George Area. This book contains historic paintings of mine that depict forestry from log hauling to milling. The second book, Artists, A History of Prince George, An Artist's View. This book depicts scenes from the streets of Prince George, buildings, businesses, churches, schools, hospitals from our past. The reason that I feel these books are important is that we need to know our history. If we don't record the history, we will lose it. As Carl Sagan said, we have to know the past to understand the present. And this is the goal of these 2 books, is to educate people and to leave a mark for generations to come to remember what Prince George was like. It's very humbling and it's an honor, as well as a privilege to be recognized alongside the other finalists for this award. Thank you.
I'm Shirley Grattan. I'd like to read the introduction to my book, Berries, Baseball, and Baskets. My children were the inspiration for writing this book. They have been telling me, or rather nagging me for years, to write my stories down. I think I was blessed with a good memory because that's all we had growing up. Very few photos were taken back then, so everything was committed to memory. As I'm aging, it is interesting for me to see the old memories keep resurfacing. After writing chapter 1, the early years, I did not want to do a document of my life in chronological order. I was worried it would be pretty boring. Instead, my hope for this book is to reflect how memories happen, because when you think of one particular thing, other similar stories just pop up in your head. My love for recipes are in the back of the book, which includes some of my very favorites. I have some special photos from my life throughout the book. I have volunteered to many organizations in the city of Prince George and surrounding areas. I would introduce myself by saying, I was old as the Cutbanks, born as Prince George, came home on a canoe. Thank you.
Willard Freer lived in remote areas of northern BC for most of his life. Born in Kamloops in 1910 and raised in the Peace River country, Freer came to the Kachika River Valley in 1942, where he worked for a number of years with famed packer and guide Skook Davidson. He then built a cabin and spent the rest of his life in the valley and at Fireside, an Alaska Highway lodge near the junction of the Kachika and Liard rivers. By all accounts, Freer was a quiet, introverted person who faithfully kept a daily diary from 1942 to 1975. Most of the entries are brief, but cumulatively they provide a detailed record of life in northern BC and southern Yukon Territory. Freer's diaries are the most extensive written record of daily life in one of the most remote regions of British Columbia. Kachika Chronicler provides a voice for his story. Jay Sherwood has unfortunately passed away and can't be with us today. His wife Linda wanted to convey Jay's gratitude to the many people who supported his effort in bringing Willard Freer's diaries into print, for assisting in his research, sharing their memories, and providing photographs from their personal collections. In Talking to the Storykeepers, Tales from the Chilcotin Plateau, writer and journalist Sage Birchwater gathers dozens of Caribou Chilcotin tales from those who have held the stories for generations. With wisdom, insight, and connection, each story provides a sense of perspective on where we have come from and how we might proceed. They reflect on the storykeepers themselves, as well as on our collective humanity, tying everything from the small, almost forgettable moments, heroic deeds, and colorful characters to the greater significance of our histories. The Storykeepers in Birchwater's new collection have named the unnamed in historic photographs and given voice and identity to side characters that may otherwise be left to history. From the tale of the Old Emmanuel United Church's brass band playing Onward Christian Soldiers from the pews as the church was dragged across the Bella Coola River to a new location on the opposite bank, to the El Cacho community's search for missing local Tory Jack, which was successfully brought to its conclusion by a clever horse. Birchwater offers an image of a changing landscape, identifying the quiet or forgotten stories of lifestyles swept aside by colonization. Talking to the Storykeepers is a portrait of time, place, and of those who protect the histories for the next generation.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Swanger, one of the historians at the University of Northern British Columbia and author of the notorious Georges, Crime and Community in British Columbia's Northern Interior, which is one of the nominees for this year's Jeanne Clarke Award. Near the end of the book, I tell a story of the juvenile delinquency panic in northern British Columbia, and in particular in Prince George, a panic that was occurring across North America. When an incident in Burnaby attracted the attention of the local newspaper, the reporter rushed out and interviewed the mother whose children had been robbed of their lunch money. And after describing the event, she summarized it with, "It's just like that Prince George business." And that indeed is what the book is about, that Prince George business. The repetition of the idea that the Prince George and its earlier communities, South Fort George and Fort George, were notorious. They were lawless, they were boisterous, they were boozy, and they carried that reputation throughout the 20th century. And thus the book is my attempt to understand the origins of that reputation and whether or not, in fact, the historical evidence supports this description of the Georges as drunken revelry, a city populated with con men and scarlet women and sharp practices. In point of fact, the Georges were no different than the rest of British Columbia, yet despite that, the reputation continues to echo throughout the years. And thus, my book is really just a testament to the idea that history is really about thinking about the present, understanding that the present is a product of decisions made and not made in the past, and that we do need to understand how the past constructs and echoes particular identities about what occurred and how that resonates in the present situation. So I hope you enjoyed the book and take an opportunity to leaf through the pages and take advantage of some of the rip-roaring tales that I've managed to unearth about the Georges. Thank you, and good luck to all the nominees.
Dear people, beloveds, and esteemed members of the Prince George Public Library Board, I'm deeply honored and grateful today being a finalist for the Publication Award among such talented authors is truly humbling. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the board for recognizing the value of my book amongst a sea of literary excellence. Being chosen among the many wonderful works is a testament to the collective dedication and passion that writers pour into their art. I want to express my appreciation for the countless hours the board spent deliberating and carefully evaluating each entry. Your commitment to fostering literary achievement is amazing and inspires authors like myself to continue pushing boundaries. I would also like to thank my fellow authors for their incredible contributions to the literary world. Each of you has added richness to storytelling, and it's an honor to share this recognition with such a talented group. Your creativity and dedication motivates me in many ways. To my readers who have embraced my work, you are the reason why I write. Your connection to my story gives meaning to the countless hours spent creating each page. This award is as much yours as it is mine, and I'm grateful for the community of readers. In conclusion, thank you. Thank you from the depths of my heart to the Prince George Public Library Board for this incredible honor. I'm excited to continue my journey as a writer, fueled by the encouragement and validation that this award provides. May we all continue to contribute to the world of literature and share stories that captivate, inspire, and connect us all. Kwasai, Yaltwuth Kwasai, Masicho.
Hello everyone, I'm honoured to introduce my book, This Place is Who We Are, Stories of Indigenous Leadership, Reconciliation and Connection to Homelands, which was published by Harbour Publishing in June last year. This Place is Who We Are is a collection of stories celebrating not only connection to homelands and Indigenous leadership, but the ways in which Indigenous peoples are continuing and reviving ancestral practices of stewardship and building both environmental and human well-being based on those practices, and showing the rest of the world the potential for a better future for all of us. The best way to explain why I wanted to write this book and why I felt it was such a timely and important set of stories to share with the world is to read you a very short excerpt from the introduction. When I began work in earnest on this book, I opened a blank document on my laptop and typed at the top, "This place is who we are." It was only intended to be a working title until the book was completed. However, as a starting point, it was a phrase that captured neatly what I hoped the stories in the book would eventually convey in different ways. That people, the places that they and their forebears are from, and the well-being of both, physical, social, environmental, economic, spiritual, and cultural, are inseparable. As is evident, "This Place is Who We Are" became the final title. For the Indigenous people whose voices grace these pages, it is crystal clear that the places that they are from are utterly embedded in their identity. Taking care of their homelands based on ancient values and ways of being and behaving towards each other and the natural environment is as natural as breathing to them. The connection between people and place and well-being, an everyday reality. Indeed, the connection of people and place and humanity's intimate relationship with our natural environment are concepts so utterly fundamental in an Indigenous framework, they essentially go without saying. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. I want to congratulate once more all of the nominees. You honor us and we thank you for your work. It's so important for our community to hear these stories about where we come from and how we got here. Could we please have the publication finalists who are here in person today stand for a round of applause? Thank you to all the publication finalists who were able to be here with us today, but also to those who are not. Peggy, Janaki, Carrie Lynn Victor, and Sage Birchwater were not able to be here in person, but we thank them for their contributions. We also wanted to recognize that sadly, we lost Jay Sherwood in October of 2022. Jay was a Publication Award finalist, not only in this year's Jeanne Clarke Awards, but also won the Publication Award in 2018. Jay's voice will live on through his many works, which includes 12 published books. We need also name another who is not with us, and that is Trell Morrow. Trell was a proud 4-time winner of the Jeanne Clarke Award in both the service and publication categories, and in recognition of that, and in his memory, a fund has been established with the Prince George Community Foundation, the Trell Morrow Memorial Fund. Trell's family wanted us to know that the Prince George Public Library will be one of the recipients of earnings from this fund, with specific requests that the library's allocation be used in support of local history programming and events such as the Jeanne Clarke Awards. We are grateful to Trell and his family for supporting local history not only throughout the years, but in years to come. Now, we are pleased to announce the winner of this year's Jeanne Clarke Publication Award, who is Katherine Palmer Gordon, for her publication, The Place is Who We Are, Stories of Indigenous Leadership, Resilience, and Connection to Their Homelands. And Katherine is here with us today, so we would like to invite her up to the front to say a few words.
Wow, speaking of amazing, this is incredible. I flew up here yesterday from Gabriola Island, where I live, and I'm just blown away. I don't think I would get as big a turnout on Gabriola as all of you, so thank you all very much for this. I'm really so incredibly honoured to be standing here in front of you all and in front of so many previous winners of this award, and the incredible work that all of you do and the incredible support you are all showing to this work. First, I would like to also acknowledge that I'm here on the homelands of the Clarke people, and that this is a place where not only have Clarke peoples survived and thrived since time immemorial, but continue to do so, continue to exercise their ancestral laws and responsibilities and practices here. And I'd like to pay my respects to Chief Logan and Council, and also to members of Prince George City Council who are here today. I don't know anybody in this room today, so you're all instant friends to me, and thank you for that. I'd like to applaud the vision of Jeanne Clarke and her family for this, and the Prince George Public Library, of course, the Historical Committee, because it's such an incredible thing to do to uplift and amplify local history. Most of my books are local history, and I'm so sorry to hear about Jay Sherwood, because he is an author who's contributed so much to the history of British Columbia, and some of his work has been really helpful in research I've been doing or have done for some of my books before, so I really want to acknowledge Jay as well. And it was so beautiful to watch all the other nominees speaking about their books and to see them in person, so to speak, and learn a bit more about those of you who are here today and the ones who are not here, and all of your beautiful books. And I'm just incredibly humbled to be standing here. It could be and should be any one of you with all of the beautiful work that you do. And not least of all, I know that everybody is here today really for one other person, Clarence. And gosh, I'm in utter awe of your achievements, and I just hope that when I'm 93 years old, I can even boast of a fraction of what you've contributed to British Columbia's story, Clarence. So I'm honoured to be here in the same space with you. Many thank yous as well. I know it's really boring to have to sit through all the thank yous that everybody has to say, but I do have some people I really need to thank, as well as the Prince George Public Library and the History Committee for selecting my book this year. I was able to write this book and create it thanks to sponsorship by an Indigenous-led organisation called Coast Funds. And they're an NGO that support conservation, financing, stewardship efforts in the region we call the Great Bear Rainforest. And without their support and assistance, this book just wouldn't exist. So I really do want to shout out to Coast Funds, and also, just so you know, one way of giving back to them for their sponsorship is all the royalties from the book are being donated to Coast Funds' Indigenous-led Conservation Fund for Indigenous stewardship efforts. So buy lots of copies, because it all goes to Indigenous stewardship. My publisher, Harbour Publishing, for their vision and support for Indigenous stories, not just my book, but so many other Indigenous stories and Indigenous authors in particular, both historical and contemporary, and for supporting me being here in person today. My family, as you can hear from the accent, although I've lived in Canada longer than I've lived anywhere else most of my adult life, the New Zealand accent is hard to shake. And I'm so delighted that my father and sister in particular in New Zealand will be able to watch this in person on YouTube very, very soon. And thank you, you guys, for all your love and support for me being here. Not least of all, of course, the people in the book, This Place Is Who We Are. So many amazing men and women who graciously shared their stories and their voices to talk about the theme of the book. And while the intent of the book is to show what great hope there is for our environmental future in the ways in which Indigenous peoples approach governance and management of their homelands, one thing that everybody in the book emphasised to me is that you cannot set the table for the future without first clearing it of the past. And understanding the history, and not just of colonisation, as important as it is to understand that, but equally important, if not more so, is to understand pre-colonial history of Indigenous peoples,
which is told over and over again in the people's stories in this book. That pre-colonial history stretches back 14,000 years in the Great Bear Rainforest. That's more than 700 generations. Whole other civilizations rose and fell in that time, Rome, Egypt, you name it. And it's so important to understand how brilliant and beautiful those systems of not just surviving, but thriving were, because people survived and thrived despite colonialism. They are here today. And that gives me such great hope for the future and hope for future generations if we can understand and embrace those ways of being in the places that are so important to us as Prince George and this region in northern BC are to all of you. So I really would like to thank the History Committee again for recognizing the importance of that history and these stories. Masicho.
Yes. Congratulations. It's beautiful. As you know, we have 2 awards to present today. In the past, the winner of the Service Award has been kept a secret until it is presented. But this year, we decided to announce the winner in advance so that family members and friends are able to be here to support, encourage, and celebrate their achievements. This award celebrates outstanding service in the field of local history and is granted to an individual or organization for significant contributions to the preservation and promotion of local history. This award presents a lifetime of outstanding contributions. When the Local History Committee considers the Service Award, it is often from a similar list of nominations year after year. These are the people who contribute to the preservation of local history through their daily lives, their actions, their stories, and even their music. Please join me in celebrating the important contributions to the preservation of local history by our 2024 Jeanne Clarke Service Award winner, Clarence Boudreau. Clarence is an author, a musician, also known as Penny Slim, who has written multiple books on the history of northern BC. Clarence was nominated for a Jeanne Clarke Publication Award in 2023 for his book, I Hear the Mountains Calling, a memoir of his life in the community of Penny, BC, where he was born and spent the first 80 years of his life. He and his wife, Olga, won the 1996 Jeanne Clarke Publication Award for their book, A Penny for Your Thoughts. Boudreau is a born storyteller who shares the history of northern BC not only as an author, but also through his original songs, including a song about the Northern Hardware Canoe Race and one about the 2018 wildfires. Boudreau's Facebook page features many of his music videos, and a recent one titled Yesterday's Memories has also received over 250,000 views. Before we invite Clarence up to say a few words, we'd like to share this profile video of Clarence that Jonathan Valoroso produced for Rogers TV in 2022.
Things have been a lot different without my wife, Olga. I still sing to her, and I hope she's listening. When I was very young, I guess about 5 years old, I used to sit in front of the record player and sing along with cowboys and stuff. That would be where I guess I really got attached to country music. My name is Clarence Boudreau, but my many fans call me Penny Slim. High up in the mountains, so wild and free, for so many was born in 1931, and for those of you who can't do the math, I'm 91 years old. I was born in a small town called Penny. We actually moved into Prince George in 2011. I got the name Penny Slim from my son Larry because I was born in Penny and because we had a nice hunting camp at Slim Creek on the Fraser River, and he figured Penny and Slim, the two go good together. It's stuck with me ever since. I've written about 70 songs, I guess, altogether. A lot of cowboy stuff and a lot of tearjerker songs, I guess, too. Some of the accomplishments, I would have to say, I guess, when I won the Seniors Idol here in Prince George. Coming around the bend, I ain't seen the sunshine, no since I don't know when. When the crowd reacts, when they clap and holler, that makes you feel good. I dare say I don't recall ever hearing a boo, which is a pretty good sign, I think. Yeah, I guess one of my biggest supporters would definitely be my wife, Olga. And we lost her about 2 or 3 months ago. Okay, this is a picture of my wife, and we ended up being married for 70 years. There's one song I love to play for my wife, and it was called Have I Told You Lately That I Love You? Have I told you lately that I love you? And if I was playing that, say, in the other room, and she heard me start to play that, she'd come in and give me a big kiss. Even though my wife is not here now, I feel that she might still be listening, and I love to sing that song. And I can visualize her smiling. She was a big part of the reason that I won't stop playing, because she encouraged me. I used to say to her, you know, I think I'm going to give up. I think this singing is getting a little bit hard for me. And she said, don't you ever do that. Don't ever quit singing. Keep singing and keep your sense of humor. A lot of people that I know, they get quite miserable and cranky when they get old. And I don't want to ever be like that if I can help it. I want to keep smiling until I cash in. Yeah, I guess I'll keep on singing until eventually I'll be pushing up sting nettles. To my wife, I hope you're listening, that I really miss you and I love you. As I sit here looking out the window, watching the first fall of snow, my memory takes me back yesterday. We'd go out in the fresh air to play. I made many miles of snowshoe trails. We'd boil water in a billy can pail, with 5 fire pits to stop for lunch, toasted sandwiches, hot drinks, and a happy bunch. Couples in their 80s would spend the day. We'd go again tomorrow, if that's okay. Lots of people have trouble sleep real tight. Most folks say they really enjoy the silence. Snowshoeing through tall forests is a new experience. The view of the beautiful mountains while we dine. A day like this will clear your troubled mind. A day like this will clear your troubled mind.
Clarence, would you be wanting to come up and share a few words? Come on up.
Good afternoon to everybody here. I didn't know I was going to be asked to speak up here today, but according to all my friends, I don't have to prepare a speech. I have it automatically. But anyway, I want to congratulate the winners here today. And when I got the word that I won the service award, it just shocked my socks off. I couldn't believe it. My first comment was, I thought there was a lot of people in Prince George deserved a lot more than I do. But I guess the committee thought different of that. But anyway, I'm sure happy to see all the people here today. And I'm really enjoying this myself. Thank you all very much for coming out today.
Congratulations to both Clarence Boudreau and Katherine Palmer-Gordon, and thank you for sharing your amazing contribution to the history of our region. We are grateful to all of the storytellers who helped to preserve and promote the history of all of our peoples. Before we conclude this year's Jeanne Clarke Local History Award, we ask you to join us in recognizing a very special birthday. Clarence Boudreau celebrated his 93rd birthday on January 23rd. And for all the times that he's sung to the crowd, we ask that the crowd join us in singing to him. There is also a card that's just outside the back of the door. Please make sure to sign it if you haven't already. So, yeah, are we ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Clarence. Happy birthday to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paul Burry, the library director here at PGPL, and I just wanted to thank you again for coming to support local history and the Jeanne Clarke Awards. And I just wanted to thank all of our participants, Anna Duff and Heather Henderson and Kim Gucci, for their contributions, and for the library staff, Jen Rubidoux and her team, Jen, who's unable to be with us today, but especially Liz and Kathleen Angelski, who did so much work to organize the event, without which it couldn't happen. So thank you. Please stick around, eat some food, and chat, and congratulate Clarence and Katherine on their winning. So have a good day. Thank you.